they're taking you with this energy to the outer ring of Saturn. And you're in a slipstream of their energy. And you're getting closer and closer. And as you come into land, you're met by the most magnificent being of light. And it's coming to escort you to a hall where they're having a meeting about Earth. I want you to go into this meeting. Have a look around and tell me who's gathered here today.
There are so many. Like I'm scanning the room and you know the troops, when you see troops, I see many, many troops. And they're giving me the example of many of us have watched Cirque du Soleil and there are acrobatics, fabulous costumes. And this is what it looks like. There's trapeze artists too. And they're saying they give me the visual of Cirque du Soleil. But there are a huge amount of galactic beings. There are dragons, there are elephant people, there's the Federation, the councils, the planetary guards, they're being called, or they're showing me that's what they're called. They guard the planets. And there's many, many troops that are lining up. So they're showing me the Star of David, and at each point there's a flame. And they're saying that as they are having these discussions, I can see lots of light codes going backwards and forwards, like almost like I want to catch them like bubbles. And the light codes are going into my hands, but they're talking in different equations. And they're giving me the word sanctimonious. And
Ask them to explain about that sanctimonious. Why do they want to give you that word?
There's a referendum. And they're saying that they're taking their time coming through me today, as this message is vital, as vital as what our heart beat. Without our hearts beating, we would not be living. They're saying everything and there's one beautiful being, the very elongated head, blue, massive, massive, massive being that is standing up And he's directing, Jill, he's directing the light codes. And they're saying that this is a sanctimonious amount of BS that we are experiencing on earth right now.
Thumbs up to him.
And he keeps doing this. And he's showing me and us collectively that life is going to become effortless for us, but we are retrieving. So he says, you see with my hands, they are retrieving, and we are retrieving information down to the core of our cellular structures. And he's showing me the strands of the DNA. And every strand, you know how strands of DNA are pink and purple, pink and blue, I think, or pink and purple. Like when you see strands, there's little, they want to say droplets, molecules, atoms, and these strands is where they are shifting, and they are shifting, and they are sharing different codes into our systems. And they're saying the sanctimonious BS is where a referendum and a truce is becoming. They're saying, listen to what he said. A truce is becoming. When something has become, it has arrived. He says, but the referendum is at first required for everyone on earth to realize their core strength, their inner wisdom. And they are very peaceful in the knowing of what is becoming. And he says it's important that they use these words. And as these words land for us, who are we becoming? As we are all encrypted in our structures, we either have cryptic codes that are not being understood, or we are being de-encrypted, desensitized, destabilized. So many of us are feeling wonky at the moment, not too sure who we are, myself included. He says it's fascinating, the discussion that we unraveled earlier on about me and my business. Where am I going? What's life about? He says many of us are unraveling at this time of change. And many of us are not recognizing the becoming of who we are deeply, deeply, deeply in our interconnectedness. He says the time of change is being reconciled. And as these light codes are going around, as these light codes are, and I see 369 a lot, that's what's hitting out at me, 369, 369. And then I'll see like Albert Einstein's mathematical equation. And they're saying collectively, as they are all gathering their teams, hence they're showing us troops, their teams are equally as responsible for the change as are we as human beings. He says that they have been questioned millions of times by different humans. Why is it that they are not getting involved? And he says it is not necessary for them to be involved in this referendum of change. Australia is going through a massive rebirthing process. Australia has been in suffering for over 100 years. Many are feeling desensitized, and he says as he's tapping onto these parts, these wrists of mine, this is where normally the paramedics would feel for a rhythm, a beat, or the doctor would feel for a rhythm, a beat, a heartbeat. He says, but Australians have been shackled, as have the Asian people, as well as the African people, as well as the South American people, as well as Americans, United Kingdom, Russians, Japan, China, New Zealand. They're hoping that they've mentioned all the biggest continents. Every continent counts. And as we are redefining our pulsating way of light beings, and they're still shifting all the codes, we will feel these ripples of change in our bodies. They have said that what they are delivering today has been said many times to many different patrons of light. Those that are being taken down, and he's mentioning one of them is the Russell Brand. The openness of this human being is where the collective, the pulsating lights that we all are, is where we are sending the energy. So here's the energy that is being elevated in a negative forum, yet we collectively are sending him the pulsating light that is needed for him to be the spokesperson. They're saying that as we go through these times of change, many of us will feel as if we want to leave and join our troops. Many of us who are of the light encoded humans will feel discombobulated and deregulated. Our friendships are changing. Our relationships are changing. our dynamics around us are changing. This year is about change. And as we are coming into the next 3 months, the investing in the upgrades of our cells is very necessary. Deregulation, deregulation, deregulation. D-Day is omnipresent. D-Day has arrived. D-Day. And they're showing me, Jill, you know when troops line up and they're given their gear, their bag, you know, the army gear, and it's all folded neatly and it's given to each individual soldier. And then they're showing me like a stamp where we get stamped, encoded. And we are the troops of a different war. We are the troops of light. Yet the war that we know, and the way that we've known war to be, he says, is where D-Day is near. And D-Day will bring a huge amount of relief. We will all sigh and say, yes. So there are bottom feeders at the moment that are planting negative seeds. We cannot, he's saying, we cannot affirm that. And it's interesting, they've just stopped and they've all come together and they're having a little talk amongst themselves. Because the information just disappeared. And they're gathering together and they're having a real go at each other. No. And that's back. They're all sitting back in their space. And they're saying this was very necessary, as they are showing how even in spirit, they too need to have their little spats, which deregulates and then brings together. And they're saying this is about the change of how we will have bottom feeders. You know, like those fish that eat in an aquarium, they're the ones that are at the bottom. And you see them pick up.
Yes.
They pick up. And they drop. And they pick up and they eat and eat and eat. And they pick up a little stone and they spit out the stone. And they're saying that these bottom feeders is where they are infiltrating. Many of us are hearing from these bottom feeders that there is another lockdown happening. This is not true. This is not true. And he's standing up and he's saying this is not true. Us as humans will not allow it. And he's stamping his, it's weird. It's like I'm looking for a fist, but there's no fist. It's just energetic, Julie. It's energetic. It's like he's showing me through my fist, but the pulsation is where we will feel this. No, our no is strong. And he's smiling, he's saying, you got it, kiddo, you got it.
So I wonder if you want to ask him. I just recently also heard that they were going to do an emergency broadcast through a system that they have in the States on the 4th of October. And if it doesn't happen on the 4th, it's going to happen on the 11th. And it's called a test run to see if the system's working. And apparently they're going to try and do that in Israel as well. So I wonder if you could tell me, is this the case? Because they did say that in America, if this happens, it's going to set off a resonance that's not going to be very good for the human system.
He's using the words blaspheme. This is blaspheme and BS. We are stronger than this. Us as humans are stronger than this. This is where he was talking about the deregulating. The deregulating. Israel were at the forefront of the jabs, were they not?
Yes, they were the start of the rollout.
Correct.
Yep.
And now many of them are desensitized, deregulated, dying. Many humans are dying off right now. And this is a broadcast today. This is a broadcast, and they're showing that, you know, when there's a D-Day, do you remember D-Day at war? Like if you've watched the History channels, there's a massive siren. And he says, this is what you're talking about, isn't it? A massive siren that goes out. And the siren is not to be heard. The siren cannot hurt us. Hence, they're talking about our pulsating, our beat, our light. Nothing can affect this vessel ever, 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 unless we think that it's going to be affected. And yes, we may feel destabilized. Israel is at the forefront of change. There will not be a war. Yet it is all they have ever known is to fight for their tiny land. Yet at the heart of who these people are, they are not wanting, like Jesus walking through Jerusalem. They don't want war anymore, but they don't know what to do with all their weapons. If they throw them in the ocean, it'll create an effect, a negative effect. Yet the leader of Israel is not forthcoming in his information. And many of the young ones that live in Israel know this. They do not like him. And they're showing me D-Day. He says, does this answer your question first, Jill?
So basically, if that broadcasting system goes, nobody's got to even worry about it. Do they have to switch off their phones or whatever? So is it the fear that they hold that something might happen to them if they do hear?
Yes.
Because they're forgetting the powerful beings that they are. So is it that fear would then lower their vibrations, which would then open their system to damage instead of keeping it high? I don't know. I get sometimes so confused with this.
He says, be patient. They're having a little chat again. There's a lot, and it's interesting. The coming together is what they're showing me, is how they come together, then we come together, we huddle
Mm.
like a scrum.
Yeah.
In rugby, we huddle. He says that it's important to know our stance, their stance, as the spirit beings of light, as the collective. And as he looks back, there's millions of them, millions. Their stance is that we as humans are more powerful, and we are igniting into the truth of who we are. We are taking a different stance. Hence, there are riots that are happening. There are uprisings that are happening. And they're saying, isn't it interesting that this information has been planted prior to election day?
Ooh, no surprises there. Eh? Cause a little bit of fear.
Yes.
And unrest.
Yes. Yet, as the beings of the DNA encoded humans that we are, is where we are taking back our power.
Mm.
So there are absolutely imminent deaths. There are people that will be leaving the planet, as they will be at the forefront of standing up to the people that have tried to destroy humanity. We were not born to be robots. We were born to be humans with emotions.
Yeah. So can I ask you something? So there's a perfect example of somebody called Russell Brand, who's always been very open about himself, about his promiscuity, about his drug taking. And are they now targeting him
Correct.
because he's waking too many people up? And is it, are they setting him as an example, as a warning, should I say, to others? Like, look what we can do to you if you try and open too many people up.
If you speak up, 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 if you fill your cup. Once you fill your cup, it overflows, whether it be tea, coffee, water. So he is the light, yet they are creating a hornet's nest. And yes, he is transparent. He is very open. He has shared so much of his soul. Hence, many humans resonate with those humans who are open in their expression and their vulnerability. So he has shown his heart. He has taken his heart and saying, here it is. And now they want to make an example of him. And yet, those that follow him, remember, energy is energy is energy is energy is energy. Energy is energy is energy is energy is energy. And they're saying, look here, energy is energy is energy is energy is energy. And as my head is moving, as there's a scratching that's happening, as the change of the way I am speaking, I understood. No, we are energetic humans that get to say no. No, 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 no. And he is very in the knowing of what this is about. And he will win the case. And he will win it as the light beings, the light keepers, which is who we all are the ones that are sending him the energy of love, light, possibilities, creation, joy, understanding, compassion, kindness. We've got this. So they're saying the sirens of we've got this is where we have to be aware of, do we buy in to the bottom feeders? Do we swim under into the tank and start to eat the shit that is on the bottom of the fish tank? Or do we come up and hover? And they're saying this is very symbolic of what they're talking about. When we're snorkeling in water, we're not deep diving. At times we'll deep dive, but we'll come back up and blow the water out again. So do not believe the mainstream media. They are the bottom suckers. Yet we are the suckers. If we buy into it, we immediately suck, he says, into that vibration, into that energy. Whereas Russell Brand is not being sucked in. He will not allow himself to be sucked in.
So it seems like another distraction pre-election.
Another play. Yep.
Another play.
Another robotic play.
Okay.
It's
So
distraction so that they can continue doing what they need to do. Yet we are powerful.
Thank you for that. The thing that I was also shown right in the beginning were the ley lines, and what is going on with those ley lines? How soon will they be activated? And when they're activated, or reactivated, should I say, what then will be the outcome? If they can show you a grid system with these ley lines around our earth plane, and how each one's looking, and which are the ones that are dormant that still need a bit of extra help from the humans living in those areas.
Africa and Russia are lying dormant at the moment. There is a subtle vibration in Africa, yet it's not electric at the moment. When these ley lines are activated, they are electric. It's full throttle. The energy is running through, very flowing through the grids. Yet there's a slight pulsation. Russia, there's nothing.
Like static.
Completely nothing, just dark. China, dark. New Zealand, disconnects. There's parts of New Zealand where they're running, and there's it kind of does this. They do this.
Yeah, like a bypass.
Yeah, they're not flowing. And this is not only due to the fault line that we have underneath, it's due to the people who do not believe in their strength, do not believe in their affirmation of who they are. Many are still suppressed and stifled in this country. Australia.
What about Canada?
We will get there. We are noticing, looking at the systems, the grid systems. Australia has, it's reversed. So if we're looking at Australia, it's very above, but underneath Australia, there's very little happening. So there's a huge amount of electric storms that happen above. And they're saying, please know that the electric storms are very important in order for these grids, in order for these ley lines to be activated. Australia has parts, they show me around the east coast, where there is flitters, moments, where they are starting to be activated as people are waking up. And they're showing me it is due to humans starting to become aware of their inner power. East Coast, West Coast, not so much. Antarctica, lots and lots of light in Antarctica, lots of flow. Canada, static at the moment. There is a massive grid system between Canada and Seattle. The humans living there are being requested to activate. Think of these ley lines, whatever comes to mind. These ley lines they're starting to reconnect. It's almost as if this is happening between Canada and America, but it's starting to do this still, where there's not so much of a disparity between the different, and they're saying the races, the different races. There's a racial issue between these countries. You and I both felt that.
Like I want to clear my throat, like.
We don't like that vibration. They're saying they do not like. They're showing me how they all sit together as all these different individuals of light. And they have their little moments, but it's resolved quickly. And then they sit and there's respect. And they allow, they're saying, listen to the words, they allow the one being to stand up and share for today. As everyone within the system, the energetic system, the spiritual system, is all equal. We all retain the same information. Yet here on earth, we are so discouraged with our intellect of who is better than everyone else.
So that's one thing that I was thinking about. At the moment, we're just about to have an election in New Zealand as well. And you've got the two major parties, which is the National Party and the Labour Party. Currently, we have Labour in power, and they're starting this bickering with each other. It's actually not very adult, right? But we've got lots of little minor new parties that are popping up, and it's all about like the Freedom Party, New Zealand Loyal, all that kind of stuff. Yet, all the little parties, if they join together, would be a force to be reckoned with. And yet they're all talking about freedom. However, they're not prepared to join. It's almost like each one has got its leader, but oh my gosh, how are they going to then get one leader? It seems to be a lot of ego involved. The very, very thing that they're not wanting when they talk about the freedom is what they're stopping by not coming together and being a cohesive force.
This is a part of the struggle for D-Day. Everyone is wanting a piece of the pie. Yet they're showing once again how out there nobody wants more than the other. They're all in their own stance of being in the light.
Yeah.
Whereas we've been determined, yet deterred for eons. We've been taking the wrong moves. We've been broken.
We've lost our voices.
We've been told how to be. Hence, we are seeking the truth, us as human beings. And correct, we have lost our voices. And they're saying, even as they crackle through my voice right now, it's not clear. We are not clear in what we want. When we decide what freedom feels like, looks like, is, not can be, is. When we accept one another in our colors, when we accept one another in our races, when we accept one another in our footprints, when we accept one another as individual human beings who all carry light codes, who have inner strength. They are in wonderment as they say that we as human beings are so resilient. We recover from heartbreak on a daily basis. We have an expression, my heart is breaking, and we recover from that. So they're saying this is symbolic right now as our hearts are being ripped open. We will feel a huge amount of the heart breaks. Many spirits, many humans are returning to the light within the structure that is being decoded. And they're saying the platforms. They are being decoded. Yet we are the ones that continuously want more, seek more. And yet we continuously judge one another. And as we are refinding our own pulsation, as we accept one another for who and whom we all are, with different hairstyles, different eye colors, different noses, different teeth, different forms of body, different cultures, different creeds, different religions. Nay, the commander is clearing his throat. He says this news, this breaking news that they are delivering right now is important. The Vatican City will come down. It has been holding the darkness for far too long. Many millions that flock to look up to a tiny window, to one person, is ridiculous, they say. How can we, as human beings, put our power in one human?
Well, I did ask that question, years ago. I met a nun and she said to me, your son should go into the priesthood. So I said, I don't think it's a great idea because I'm sure he'd love to have a family. And I said, the priests are not allowed to have families. I said, and why can't they have families? And she said, well, because they've given themselves to God. And she said, but it's a dying breed, unfortunately. So she said, who will run the mass? I said, well, what about the nuns? Why can't the nuns run the mass? They know the mass inside out. And she just stopped in her tracks and she said to me, oh, no. It's because God goes through the Pope, and then the Pope the God's glory goes through the Pope and then from the Pope into the priests. I said, but why not into the nuns? And she couldn't give me an answer.
They're all laughing right now, Jill.
Why don't people ask these questions?
They
It's
are
just
all
basic
rolling.
questioning.
They are all rolling with laughter right now and saying, how ridiculous are we as human beings to believe that piece of information that was given a long time ago, a long time ago, that one human gets to decide what's right for so many other humans.
Mm.
Says, they're saying even as they come through, and they are coming through in their mastery, they are coming through in their space of openness. Yet as the messages are being delivered through many of us who are channels, many of us are receiving different information. Yet the one thing stands true for all of these millions of troops of beings of light. They are only wanting the expression of love. Ever. It is the only thing. Yet we are defined by money.
And control's not love.
Correct. So they are laughing at us as the collective, as they're saying, this is our time to stand up. These pillars, these ancient ruins that brought chaos, that brought death, that we all visit. We pay to visit these places, these ancient ruins. And they're showing me the Colosseum. Colosseum.
Colosseum, yeah.
Colosseum. Thank you. Do we know how much death happened in there and around there?
Terrible.
Yet we go there in awe, in wonderment. And they're saying, how come? What is that we are recreating?
Mm.
These lands that have been placed, these boulders that have landed, these giants that are encapsulated in certain parts of our world, in certain parts of the ancients, in certain parts of the wisdom that is within the collective. These are where the ley lines get activated. Uluru, Castle Hill, there's pyramids in Bosnia, pyramids in Egypt, Stonehenge, Basquiat. I haven't heard of Basquiat. I don't know if that's in Spain. They're showing me something in Spain.
The Basque region.
The Basque region. They're saying that there are so many collective places. The Grand Canyon is one of them.
Yeah.
Where that is true ancient ruins.
Oh, in the Grand Canyon.
That, Castle Hill, Stonehenge, Uluru, all these places that have been, they're saying they've been very aware of how they share this information. They've been discovered, these places.
Yeah.
And we all feel activated when we go to these places.
Yeah, it's almost like a reverent, like you're in a sacred place. I think that's the feeling I got when I got to Castle Hill. I felt that almost I had to whisper.
Yes.
In respect. Respect is the word.
Free, correct. Because there are shiny ones that sit within those rocks. There are imprints. There are DNA decodings that are happening with these activations every time somebody goes to an ancient site.
Yes.
Even the pyramids that have been built, there have been many souls that have been loved and have left. Yet these souls knew, even the ones in the barbaric times, these souls knew. So again, the Vatican City, have we noticed how these churches are magnificently built?
Are they on ley lines? On like a grid system where the energy is? Is that where they built them?
Yes and no. They claimed the land. They claimed the land that was not theirs to claim in the first place. So they're showing me the Vatican City, and they're saying that we are told to gift for tidings. For what? Where does that money go to? It is controlled. These systems of control are falling. Hence, they talk about the platforms once again. The platforms are the ones that are controlling us.
Okay, so I've got a question. Sorry to interrupt you. Is it, while we're talking about that, because you know me in my mind, I then lose the whole thing and then we go on to another subject. And then I think, gosh, why didn't I ask that? So I'm sorry to interrupt. But back to the Vatican. How does a religious body become an entity into itself? Like in that city, they've got their very own police force. It's like they're not the outside police in Italy can't go into the Vatican and tell people what to do or arrest them as such, from what I believe. They have got their own police, their own rules, their own regulations. I mean, it would be like suddenly New York City saying, we don't report to the government or anything. We are an entity and a country on our own. How do people actually allow that? And who makes that decision?
Simple. The religious sects. And they're saying, did I say that clearly?
Sect. SECTS, sects.
Correct.
Yeah.
They do. Religion has been a part of the global phenomena for eons. And yet, within these sects, and they're saying, it's very clear what's coming through my mouth right now. Within these sects, there is sex that is happening. And the trafficking is a massive part of the money that is going to these sects.
Oh.
It is known. It is coming up.
Right.
It is being shown. It is being shared.
So it's going to be exposed.
It is already being exposed.
So is that the part of the fall of the Vatican then?
Correct.
Okay.
There will be some that may gasp. There will be many that will be devastated. Millions will be devastated at this news. Yet it takes the people that have been affected to come together and share how they have been abused. Many young ones have been abused. We know this. Many elders have been abused, yet have been silenced.
Yeah.
As if they speak up, they will be shot, they will be persecuted. It is that dire. Yet you humans go there in awe, and we do not know how the denseness is not felt unless you are a light being, unless you are a human who is awakened unless you are a human who has decided, notice our words, who has decided that you are not there to follow anyone anymore. So to come back to your question around your government structures, not only in your country of New Zealand, your governments are imploding. They are not sure how to express themselves in moving forward. So this wonderful game of chess that this supposedly dynamic group of humans, and we call them dynamic as they were in the forefront of their time, who decided to play chess with the people who are the pawns, have now discovered that they are at a stalemate. There's no checkmate that is happening as they originally planned. They have realized that their wrongdoings have not won over the people. They have created an awareness that we know that human beings will swear upon their allegiance to your people, not to the governments no longer. We know that there is one leader that is bringing transformation and change in America. You talk about freedom, Jill. America claims to be the land of the free. Well, how many feel free with the strife and the poverty and the warfare that is happening right now? This new leader that is taking the platform is promising. He is bringing the promises of the people, and he is there to deliver. He will be there for 2 different sections of this election. This one and the next one. He will run. He will bring massive change across the world. We are sharing this information as many, once again, are wondering, what do we do?
Yes.
Do we allow, listen to our words, who do we allow to be And as we take a pause through this one today, notice who is speaking the truth of the people. Your hearts will feel the warmth, your vibrational space of being human. Your vibrational space of being human is being reconciled as we speak. You are being encoded with different light codes to make the truth be felt and heard from here. No more fighting, no more revolting, no more purging, only truth keeping, where everyone will show up, will be there, astoundingly, applausingly. There will be massive applause across the world when these grids that are waiting to be alighted, they are waiting. So we say, go to the places that are free, where you're allowed to be expressive. Every single stone holds wisdom. Every single river holds wisdom. Every single ocean holds wisdom. It is your time to be free. Thank you.
Thank you. That's absolutely wonderful. And, you know, I'm not bashing religion as such, because there are some awesome humans that are doing great service in those, in some particular areas, you know, with very good and open hearts. But just for me personally, I've always thought, why would you need to go through an operator to speak to God or to connect with Source when you're really part of Source? You can just do it directly. And some find that quite offensive, that you would have to bypass, that you would bypass and go directly. It's like, you know, who do you think you are? But I think it's like, you've really got to know who you are. When you know who you are, you don't need a third party. So for those who do need a third party at the moment, as a crutch, as somebody like a friend, that's fine. But it doesn't work for everybody. And I think that's the whole thing about freedom of choice. You have to have freedom to choose, and you can open up a dialogue or an open conversation. But I'm feeling more and more in the world that open dialogue is not allowed. It's actually frowned upon. And I really laughed yesterday. I saw a clip where it said, oh my gosh, you don't follow science, you don't believe in science. How dare you go onto Google and self-diagnose, you know, that sort of stuff. And and then the comedian said, well, I've always been a reader. It's like saying if I'm going to buy a new car, that I can't actually look at all the models, see what all the specialists say about all the different models before I make up my mind, that I can only listen to the salesperson that's selling me the car. And if he says, this is the car for you, then regardless of what I think, I have to listen to the salesperson as my one single source of truth, which is what our Prime Minister had said in New Zealand, that the government is the single source of truth. And in other words, don't go and look anywhere else. Don't think for yourself. And if you start thinking for yourself, then there's something wrong with you. When did people stop asking questions? When did people stop having such an inquiring mind? When was it not okay to hold conversations?
Conversations are required in order to bring change. And a conversation is a conversion. A conversation brings change. When one is converting money, when one is converting a mathematical equation, one brings change. Even as you speak about your leader, or this person that once was a leader, this feminine object, we are calling her an object, as that's what she became. Everybody objectified her, didn't they?
Yes.
Everybody made her the god of the country. Yet what others are not aware of is that there was a lot of bottom feeders that were already dictating to her. So she came out looking like the queen, and the platforms of the queen and kings are no longer required, no longer. We ask of you, why are you guys, you humans, following the kings and queens and the prince and princesses? What do you need from them? What do they give you besides a fairy tale story with all the glistening gold and the uniforms and the dresses? You are wanting more real, are you not?
Yes. It's a pantomime. It's just a show.
So have more real conversations, hard-hitting conversations. This is where you will speak your truth, and those that are the keepers of light will allow the truth to be spoken. And when the truth is spoken, love is reinstilled to heal. Yet for those of you who have decided that you are lost and alone and have no one to have these truth conversations with, we ask of you to find those people that you can be brutally honest with. As we see you and Michelle, you have said once before, you know Michelle is a truth speaker, is she not?
That's right.
Many do not like the brutal honesty that she brings, yet many love the brutal honesty, the openness. Hence, Russell Brand has nothing to hide. He has spoken openly, he has shared openly. The others, now that have been hidden, are now deciding to come out of what you humans term the closet, as there is money involved. Where there is money involved, which we are well aware, how your governments have created the taxes that you all need to pay, we say apparently need to pay. How many of you really know where the money is going? Unless you make demands off your governments, from your governments, from their teams. And when they are speaking the truth, you will notice they are not only speaking through their teeth, they are speaking with affirmation. Those are the truth leaders.
It almost seems like we need something called truth and reconciliation in order to move forward. With this rollout of this experimental drug throughout the world, there were so many that followed it and, were what I would term law-abiding citizens. And then there was the resistant movement, which said, actually, I don't want to have this experimental drug. And those that took the drug were angry with those that didn't take the drug. And yet there have been so many adverse side effects which have been hidden, and you're not allowed to talk about it. And if you actually bring anything up, those that took it are saying, oh, look, that was so like last year or the year before. That's gone. Let's just move on. But they weren't the ones that were not allowed to go swimming, go to the libraries, go to restaurants, travel. It didn't affect them as such. They felt sorry for themselves because they were locked up, but they weren't in the other person's shoes. And I think until that group that was compromised, until they can be heard, how does one move on? And I think that's why there's such a push and a pull and a tug going on at the moment. And then those that are speaking out, that are brave enough to speak out, are being told that it's misinformation, and our government has just put something like $680,000 together onto a platform to curb the so-called misinformation, which is nothing other than shutting people's voices down.
There is so much in what you have said. And when we entertain the bottom feeders, we entertain the energy. We give to the energy, to the bottom feeders. This was created for an evolutionary shift for humanity. And as the vibration of change right now that is happening for you all.
Yes.
None were law-abiding, none were unlaw-abiding. Everyone played in the orchestra. Everyone did what they decided was good for themselves.
Yes.
And yet, you humans are still creating the divide with the talking of this. So as you are talking about it, there is a noticeable, sensational, vibrational frequency that is emitted into the field. We say for those who didn't decide to choose, notice how we said that. We say that those who decided what was good for themselves brought change, Jill. Yet as you are speaking of this vibration, as you are speaking of this stand-in point, it brings discoloration. It brings disharmony. No one was better than the other.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
There were huge amounts of changes, universal changes. And this was the time where humans created, please notice how we say this, humans created and still do create viruses on a daily basis for themselves. A virus is created with your words, Jill. A virus is created with how you show up in your vibration. It can be encrypted or decrypted. We know that there is a huge amount of discoloration. We know that there is a huge amount of infrequencies. We know that you know that this wake up was meant to be created in the invention of the light. The Holy Spirit is upon you all. And when one is tuning in to something that throws them off their way, we say to you all that those that stood up and decided not to conform, are you revolutionized? Have you reformed? Were you not kicked out? Or were you staying in? Do you see the difference in statements? Yet humans take things very, very personally, especially where there is money involved. You and Michelle had a discussion around this earlier on. What are your boundaries? We say this to you. What are your boundaries? When humans say, no, no more, no, whether it be relating to business. When one has their nose in their own business, you know your own truth for yourself. Then there will be no discoloration. Notice how we said that, discoloration. You are all of different colors, are you not? You are smiling as you are well aware of this. You all have different tones. You were all birthed for these times of change. Are you staying in your lane? Are you staying in your truth of self-expression? Not regression. Self-expression is where you know the truth of your light, of your pulse. Yet many of you are still reactive in this massive, discolored, massive purging.
Because there's a fine line. That's the whole thing. You want to make change. You want your voice to be heard. But then your voice is not allowed to be heard. And I think that is what's upsetting people. And as a so-called light worker, you think, oh, should I say something? I mean, if I say something, it's going to stir the pot. And then is that going to bring the vibration down? Or if I stir the pot and I'm authentic, is it actually going to help? It's so confusing.
So we ask of you, when one is in their truth and authentic, does it really matter what you say? Everything
No,
is
well, I'm getting to that stage now, and that's when I realized, when you spoke to me, you guys, and you said, who or what do you live for? We live for ourselves. We have to live for ourselves. So when you do that, doesn't that mean that you are standing in your truth? So that's when you speak your truth, and that's the kind of place I'm at the moment, where I'm going, you know what? I am going to say what's in my heart. Not everybody's going to like it, but I have to be true to my voice, to my portal of light, and say, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not saying this is how you're feeling, but what I'm saying is, this is how I'm feeling. Can we have a conversation? But if I do that sort of thing on my platform as such, like my Facebook, I get one comment by the fan club. And it's not that I'm looking for comments. I'm not. What I'm wanting to try to do is open up a conversation. But if I do a picture of a baby lamb, I get 1,000 likes. And it's just something in my heart that it just feels sad that when are we going to open a conversation? That's all. Just want a conversation to say, tell me why you feel that way.
You are not feeling heard, Jill.
But not only me, many are not being heard.
Well, either way, either side of the fence, you used the term sheep. If a sheep is on the one side of the fence and its baby is on the other side, it will make a noise until they find a way.
Mm.
Hence, we have said this before, it is easier as the masters that you are within your light, when one is not feeling heard, one wants to be louder. This is not necessary. Many who are here are not feeling heard. And when one hears their truth,
Mm.
You humans are blessed to have so many senses. Yet when one hears their truth, it does not matter what needs to be said. Notice how we said that. What needs to be said. When one has a desire, a need, this is the energy. When one has their truth, this is the energy. The energy is open, it is flowing. Then one does not need to say to another one, let's discuss this. There is a knowing that happens. Yet when the desire is to want to be heard, and I think that you did not be on my side, you are in a ring of fire. You are in your own internal war. Yet when you have the leaders up on your platforms, we say, go ahead, be the firing squad. As many are coming together who have been on different sides. We have said this before. A war brings more death than surrender. When humans surrender to what once was, the way, the truth, and the light is internal. And in the discoloration of you all seeking freedom, many of you who have remained quiet are the holders of the light in a different way. Many of you who are being in your stillness are within your own truth. Yet there is this absolute desire to be seen for many of you. Hence the selfies, the selfies, the selfies, the selfies. We, as the collective of beings of light, find you humans very, very amusing. You are told, are you not, that everything is a reflection. Everything is reflective, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
So when one is looking in the camera, you only see yourself in these selfies. Are you happy with yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you desire to be a better version of yourself?
Oh, we better take another selfie then.
Take it and notice your true light. As when one sees their true light, they see the auric field light up. The auric field is not prodded and poked and has discoloration. It is whole until one decides that they want to be heard. And then when one wants to be heard, they can be hurtful, can they not?
Mm.
So when one is in their own aura of their knowingness, of their spirit, of their light, one will always know that there is no right, no wrong, no black, no white, no team that needs to have a side. One stands in their truth and holds the light without words.
Mm.
Practice, Jill. Practice, Jill. Practice.
Ooh, I've been practicing for many, many years. When am I ever going to get good at this? I just get a good patch and then I hit a roadblock. I love it.
Your wisdom is profound. It is not about being good or bad. It is about being still and listening. When one is still, even in a selfie, how many times do humans hold the camera in different ways? No, not good enough. Take it again, take it again. Do you see? One caption is never enough. There has to be many captions before the perfect photo is taken for everyone else to comment.
Yes, don't show the bad side.
Yet there is no good and bad from where we sit. There is only love, light, truth. We thank you.
Listen, thank you so much for this transmission today. That's been pretty good. Is there anything, a final message that you'd like to share with us before we end this?
We know that these moments in time are feeling rocky for many of you. I, as the light keeper, and he's standing up strong once again. We know as the collective beings of light that there is only one way forward in these rocky times, in this treachery. Stay in your stillness. We have said it, the masters know it. Meditate. Connect with your spirit teams. They will guide you in harmony. Many of what you are desiring, much of what you are wishing. You have the statement, thoughts become things. We say, thoughts become you. As you are thinking, so it becomes in to form. Do you notice how we said that?
Yes, I did. I took good note of that.
So as you decide what you think, as you realize how you are feeling, when one is expansive, when one is whole, when one is open, when one is free, there is no clutter, there is no chaos. There is only breath and nothing in between. Every pulsation brings a different light. We thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was just lovely and scrumptious. So, Michelle, you know the drill. 1, 2, 3. Moving, shaking, looking fabulous. Waking up.
I was just saying thank you to them, Jelly.
Yeah.
Gosh, that felt like a lot of information. Wow.
Yeah, they were a little serious today.
Yeah, sure. A lot of about truth, eh? A lot about truth.
And change.
Mm.
Like change is imminent.
Mm. And D-Day, I just remember D-Day.
So they told me ages ago, remember that there's going to be D-Day and it's going to be a landslide victory to the people. And I saw them all lined up on the sides, like waving flags and everything, just like they did on VE Day, like victory. And they keep on saying that, yes, we've got to go through the troubled times. Yes, we've got to and they said there's going to be revolutions for our evolution, and that governments are going to topple, etc. So we can actually see pockets of it really, starting. So we obviously haven't got to the real crescendo bits at the moment. It's like, that old saying that the final straw that broke the donkey's back or the camel's back or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel it's getting like that it's getting to such a point that the pressure's building and people can feel it.
Mm.
And I think every single different human has a different amount that they can hold.
Mm.
Like you say, oh, that person's got great resilience. And then you say, oh, shame. They're so fragile, right? So that real resilient one could take on a hell of a lot more trauma, more, until eventually they go, whoa, right? And I think it's like we are being piled on so much stuff on top of us for so long. There's got to be a breaking point, and then people will just go, that's it. Yes. That is absolutely it. Enough.
Yeah.
Because we just go 10 years ago and look how our lives were so different. How did it turn to custard like this? It's because, and I've just realized they told me ages ago, the reason that it's turning is because we handed our power over. We were so busy making a living that we didn't govern ourselves. We handed the governance of self to a power and said, you know what? I don't want to be interested in the infrastructure of education, the roading, the whatever, all the setups. We'll just pay you the tax. You just take care of that and let us just live our lives. But the price now has become too high.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
no, we're not paying this price. We're not being locked up. We're not being experimented on. We're not being told how to think, what to do, how to act. No, enough.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is time. I think it's absolute time to, I just, I remember when we lived in South Africa, well, lived in Zimbabwe, and then we left to South Africa. I remember my uncle, I was a young girl, and my uncle, and bless his cotton socks, he passed over this year. And he said to my dad, and I remember this, he said, in 30 years' time, South Africa will go exactly the same way as Zimbabwe. And it did. It's still chugging along and hanging in there. And why does that happen? That's what I often question. Why? Why does that, we could see these things. We see these things happening. We see I'm not wanting to go down a wormhole here, but like, I've noticed here in Nelson how the crime has already expanded from the people, and it's obvious when people lose their jobs, when people don't have money, they're going to turn to crime.
They've got to feed their family. They've got to pay for their rent.
I was just going to say that. I say, like, shit, if I don't have
money, you can't judge, eh? How the hell do you judge that? If you had a good, fabulous society, healthy, there wouldn't be a need for crime.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I kind of just live in hope, hey? Every day, I'm like, every breath, like I breathe and I listen to the birds every morning. I go outside and I go, thank you for helping me to wake up and see this. And even I go through these roller coaster of emotions, I just go, look, I keep saying to Brent as well, and as you know, Brent and I have been through this rocky road, and I just say, look for the little moments of gratitude. That's all we can do, is look for those little moments, because it can be taken away in a heartbeat.
You know what? Absolutely. You know what? I've got fantastic friends, and they had been chefs their whole lives. They'd owned restaurants, and they had just retired. And he was working in the garden, and he climbed up a ladder, and he fell off, and he smacked onto the cement, and his entire ankle dislodged, and it went like a flipper, and his actual heel ended up sort of over here somehow. And that's over 2 years ago. He's had multiple operations, and now he's been told, oh, no, you can't have a fusion or whatever because the bone has died in there. Now, you spend your whole life working so you can retire. So my point is, as you said, your life can change like that, right?
Mm.
That is why you have to appreciate what's happening right this red hot moment, because we don't know whether they're going to have the ankle thing tomorrow, or the heart attack, or the falling off the building, or the whatever.
I know. But you see how we get so stuck on what's going to come? Is it going to happen? We're not too sure.
We're not there yet.
Blah, blah, and we're not even there, you know. And
Yeah.
yes, it's healthy to have the conversations, but you know, I've had so much confrontation in my life. I just don't want to do confrontation anymore, you know. And
I don't like it. None of us like it.
no, unless we have someone and we have a partner, we have a friend, we can say, hold space. I've got a lot of shit that I need to purge right now. You know, it is about that asking permission, which I'm still learning. I forget a lot of the times to ask permission. And, you know, I didn't even with you this morning say, Jilly, like, you know, can you just hold space for me? We just go into a space.
Hey, I've got a whole room for you. We call it the space room, where we can space out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just, we're so interesting as human beings. And the more I freaking learn about humans, the more I think we're just crazy as batshit, man. Like, it's like, I'm kind of like, shit, we are just a weird species altogether. Freaking hell. Just weird.
It's ridiculous, eh?
We are, we're just ridiculous.
We've got all this fabulousness around us. Why don't we just damn enjoy it?
I know, appreciation for each other is key.
Yeah.
I know. Julie, I'm gonna have to go, my friend. I've got a client in a few minutes, so I'm
Yes,
just
go. I didn't even know. You didn't even tell me that you declined.
I didn't even realize. Was I under for quite a while? That sounds
I
like
don't know.
quite a
I
long
think
session.
today was a big session, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
It's nearly midday. Yeah. So you better get cracking so that.
Shit, we started talking at 9.
Oh, that's because we had a fat
Why
chat
don't we?
first,
Yeah, I know we did. We had a long chat first.
which is unusual for us.
No, of course. I mean, because Spirit are telling us we need to listen more. You know, let's get more capacity. Of course, because Jill and Michelle just don't know how to shut the fuck up.
And today I couldn't help myself. I kept on interrupting you. I'm going, la, la, la. As I'm doing it, I'm going, you haven't let it finish.
Yeah,
She's going to start getting irritated. She's not being heard.
you know me. You said it perfectly. I fill up, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, shut up now.
Okay, we'll go and have fun with your
Okay, my
client.
friend. Love you. Love you guys. Thanks for
Bye, guys.
watching. Okay,
See ya.
bye.
Bye. Bye.